All right, guys, welcome to episode 5 of the FITT Podcast. I know it's been about a month, a bit over, since I've seen you guys last time when we had our um, first guest on Gian, and that was a great episode. I hope you guys enjoyed it and watched it. I am really trying to do a better job of, uh, I'm feeling out this process of, when I bring on guests, making it concrete, concise, asking more questions for them, and not doing so much talking myself, but also trying to become more frequent when I do these podcasts, not just like once every month, but once every other month would be um, once every other month at least, or once every other week. Sorry. And I'm planning on having more guests on. The goal will be perhaps me doing an episode by myself, like I am here tonight, or perhaps, and bringing on at least one guest every month. I am in my living room tonight, a little bit different setting. You can see the view. I have a really nice view. Live high up, which is what it is, 41st floor. So, anyways, regardless, the point of this tonight's episode is to talk about my most recent injury that I had about 7 weeks ago, almost. Sorry, I had to crack my back. Almost 2 months. And I wanted to kind of give you guys detailed about how I injured myself, one, and then kind of how me and my coach went about recovering myself to get back to the point where I'm at now, where I'm not, you know, deadlifting or squatting above mid sevens yet, but I'm able to put a lot of weight on my back or in my hands with no pain at all. And we're just starting to increase the load under tension, and how much weight I can put on my back and in my hands, and making sure that there's no pain, which there is no pain, so it's great. And I just want to talk to you guys about how I recovered, and how me and my coach kind of game planned this. Also, I want to talk about the muscle that I injured, kind of what it does, why it's a commonly injured muscle. And then I also want to talk to you guys about how things that I've changed in my mobility routine, and warm-up routine and cool down routine, and on my off days from training and recovery that I've kind of done to try to work on, because of things that I think maybe caused the injury. So to start, I'm going to kind of share my screen. I want to go over some things with you. I did strain my adductor muscle. It's a very commonly injured one. It's something that a lot of people can get injured or strained. I would say more often than not, it's a muscle that can get restrained very often, and it's not fun to deal with. It's a big stabilizer of the pelvis, does a lot of different movements, especially the muscle that I strained, which was my adductor magnus. So let me share my screen here with you guys, okay? Let's go here. All right, so here's what we're going to talk about today. Show you this. The adductor magnus muscle, okay? So the adductor magnus muscle, well, technically, let's start. There's 3 adductor muscles: your brevis, your longus, and your magnus. Okay. The brevis is up here, the magnus is down here in the green, and the longus is here. Now, your longus is the most commonly strained adductor muscle. Why exactly? Research is still unsure, but for the most part, that's where it's commonly strained. I strained my magnus, and I knew this partially because of the fact that I had a lot of hamstring pain in the back of my leg as well, too. And your brevis and longus do not have anything to do with aiding or assisting in hip extension at all. And that was part of the reason why I felt like it was my adductor magnus muscle. So the adductor magnus muscle here in the green, okay, it has 2 parts. It has your adductor part and your hamstring part. All right. So I'm going to kind of go over those with you. Your adductor part actually originates on, so this is your pelvis bone here. You got 3 parts of your pelvis. You got your ischium, you got your ilium, and you got your pubis. Okay. So the adductor part actually originates at the ramus of pubis, and the ramus of pubis and ramus of ischium. Okay, here. That's where it originates at, where it starts at. Where it inserts at is the medial condyle of the femur, the medial or the medial supracondyle line of your femur bone here. Okay. The hamstring part then originates at the ischial tuberosity, back here, okay? And then it actually inserts on your adductor tuberosity of your adductor tuberosity of your medial condyle of your femur. Okay. Now I'm going here because I want to talk about the nerves, and it's just a little bit different. I want to go over this. You do have your obturator nerve is two different nerves. I think it's pretty cool. That supplies the adductor portion of it, and your sciatic nerve, which everyone knows what that is, which supplies your hamstring portion of it. Okay. You don't have to get too involved in that or anything like that. So now the actions of these muscles, the adductor portion assists with hip flexion, obviously it does adduction, and it also assists with a little bit of internal or medial rotation or returning your foot inwards. Now the hamstring portion assists with adduction as well too, slight, but it mostly assists with hip extension and then slight external rotation or turning your foot outwards. Okay. And then I'll talk about here. This is a sacromere. So this is kind of a more physiological and an anatomy physiology term for a muscle fiber is a sacromere. Okay. So you have different types of filaments. You got your thick myosin, you got your thick, thin actin, and then you got your elastic tighten filaments, which are more just the elasticity and the recoil of the muscle, okay, when it gets stretched. And you're contracting it. Basically, what happens when you strain a muscle is you got these different types of filaments, and the actin and myosin filaments basically come together when they're in a relaxed state, and then they spread apart when they're in a stretched state. So when you're stretching the muscle, for example, when you're doing a bicep curl and your arm is fully lengthened, that bicep is fully stretched. So those actin and myosin filaments are fully coming apart here, fully pulling this way and this way. Now, what can happen is you can get a tear of the muscle fibers. There's three different grades, typically grade 1, grade 2, grade 3. Grade 2 is a partial tear, grade 3 is a full tear, and grade 1 is microfiber tears. And what can happen is if you stretch these myosin and actin filaments out too much, okay, and they can't maintain that specific loaded tension. Let's say you're squatting and you're in the hole in your quad muscle. I guess I could say your quad muscle, you're in the hole and you trying to squat, you have 750 on your back, and you're coming down in the hole, and that quad muscle is being fully lengthened, fully stretched in that position, and that during that eccentric phase, and it can't load it anymore, and boom, you feel like a little pop in your leg and whatnot. It's what happens when your muscle fibers cannot and tendons cannot maintain that specific that amount of load with the tension that it's requiring. So you're requiring your muscles to be able to hold a specific amount of tension under a specific amount of load, and you're not able to do that anymore. Okay. So that's what happened with me. I actually injured it. Let me stop my sharing here. I actually injured my adductor muscle warming up for deadlifts. I was supposed to do 716 for a triple, and it was supposed to be the last week of the block, super fatigued. I was basically warming up 551. I didn't even pull it off the ground. And I pulled the slack out and it didn't even come off the ground, and I felt a pull in the left side inner part of my leg. So it's kind of what happened. I couldn't put any weight on it. It was very hard to squat. It just, I knew I strained my adductor as soon as I did it. It's kind of more of a shock situation. Like, holy crap, what did I just do? But let me start back here. So I'll talk to you about why I think I strained my adductor muscle to begin with. Okay. And go through that. During that whole block, I had been having some left quad tendonitis, and that was really caused me to kind of compensate a little bit, just a tad, even a smidget, not even noticeable on videos, but with my squats and my deadlifts, and it was requiring me it's just like same thing. If certain muscle groups are fatigued and giving out and they can't hold up their end of the bargain, okay, other muscles are going to have to compensate to be able to move the weight and the load that you want. Eventually, what was going to happen is you might get injured. You may not, I don't know. But I had also been doing a lot of adductor hip machine, like coming in like this. And I had started to feel some right groin pain already. And then I started to really feel some left adductor pain at the beginning of that block with doing that hip adductor machine. And I kind of towards the end of the block hopped off of it, but I had so much success with implementing that the previous 2 and 3 blocks with my squats and deads. I was like, I can't get rid of this. I can't get rid of this. This is a great exercise. I'll just do it for 2 sets or 3 sets, not 6 or 7 sets. I'll do it once a week, not twice. No, it did not work for me. Clearly, and I should have just taken them out and not done anything and rested, but I decided not to do that. Obviously, I learned the consequences now. I do believe that my quad tendonitis, which developed just from over time, I feel like mainly from pushing my accessories too much, and pushing my quads more than they should have been pushed, on days that I was really feeling it. That's on me. I'm a PT. Everyone will say doctors and PTs are the worst at diagnosing themselves and treating themselves, which I 100% agree with. Because if this was a client of mine or any of my clients, if any of you guys watching, I would have told you to stop what you're doing, stop doing it. It's only going to result in worse things in an injury. And tendonitis is not something fun to deal with, especially in your quad, because you do need it for sumos, you do need it for squats. And I would say even need it for conventional a little bit as well too. Your quads at least. I mean, you don't need a little bit for conventional, you still need to have good quad strength, but whatever, you get my point. So yeah, all those factors kind of leading up to it and it being week 4 of the block, really in the previous day, squats did not move very well. So that should have been a telltale sign, but I try to get in the mindset of like, okay, you had one bad day, move on, hit the next day, hit what you're supposed to, and going with a hard mindset, go in a motivated mindset. And I went in with a great mindset that day. It's just my body was so fatigued and so tired, and I was in discomfort already that I just didn't listen to my body because my body was telling me, hey, squats didn't feel well. Why are you going to push it on deadlifts today? Or not push it, but do what you're supposed to on deadlifts today. Maybe you should skip today. I'd also say I had been training, getting an extra rest day. So typically I train Tuesday, Thursday, Saturday, Sunday, and I was not lifting on Saturdays due to other reasons the first 3 weeks of that block. And then the last block, I decided let's just train Saturday and Sunday, even though my body's not been doing that, because then what would happen is I would have that extra rest day between Thursday, which is deads and bench, and which I was doing heavy 5s. Like I think that last week of the block, it had 675 for 5, which moved very well, but it was still heavy. And I would have that extra rest day as Saturday before I would do Sunday squats and then Monday, and it just give my body more time to recover, and my body got used to that. And I think that's also partially due to me as well. So sticking to your program and not, especially if and adjusting things, if you need to. And it wasn't like I wasn't gonna like it was gonna move at a higher RPE. It was RPE 8, and I knew 716 could have moved at that for a triple. I knew it would have moved at that triple for 8 RPE. So that wasn't like me pushing it. It was just my body listening to me and giving me little hints and not really listening to them. And you have to listen to your body and kind of pick up those cues for your body of like, oh, if I'm too tired today, maybe I shouldn't push it. Maybe I should, make sure I follow the RPE. And if that means last week I hit an RPE 6 for bench for a double at 419 for a 7, and today's RPE is an 8, and I should be able to hit more than 419, but the fatigue has built up from the previous week so much. Hit that 419 again and make it of a goal to try to make it move faster this time, so then you can be like, oh, I undershot today. Like you don't want to undershoot consistently, but you also don't want to overshoot. Overshooting is much, much worse than undershooting, in my opinion. Everything, because it leads to a higher rate of fatigue, and taxing more on your central nervous system. And you're eventually, what's going to happen is you're going to eventually plateau, because even though you might be making progress like this, small little jumps, it's not going to be linear. So it might be little, oh, plateau, a little bit up, oh, plateau, until eventually after that plateau, you might drop down or injury occurs. So that's more my rationale on that. Am I wrong? Probably, maybe, I don't know. A lot of people have different things, but I think a majority of powerlifters and coaches out there, and athletes and personal trainers, everyone in the healthcare profession in general, or training or athlete realm, would say that overshooting is never a good thing consistently. So especially with the amount of weight that I do and others do, just in general. So let me kind of explain a couple things here. I'll explain kind of, so that's how I got injured, and I gave you the reasons why I got injured. And I'll kind of show how I got injured specifically. Get set up here, and I am very sore. This is how you know I am very sore from Saturday and Sunday's training, squatting 606 for a triple for the first time in like six weeks, and then 633.5 for a triple beltless with deads, which both moved great, both moved how they're supposed to, but I am very sore. So my legs are definitely feeling it. So let me come here, out here. Oh God, I'm open to my living room. Yeah, I don't have a coffee table, whatever, screw me. So basically how I set up, I can picture the bar in here. The best athletes in the world are going to be able to picture themselves doing the movements in their head and the bar and how they set up and everything. Okay, so I can picture the weight right now. They're kilos, they're red kilos in the bar, and then I can picture where I'm putting my foot. So when I came in here, I got set up. And like I said, I was having right groin pain already and left groin pain or adductor pain right in here. It wasn't hip flexor pain up here. I didn't have any impingement. Fader was negative. Flexion, adduction, internal rotation in my back. The log roll test was negative. No pain there. You know, not the, God, I'm forgetting it. But basically one of the hip special tests where you basically just push the hip in and kind of stir it up. I'm forgetting what it is. All that asking here, but all that was under. So I was like, it's not a hip impingement. It's just more having more adductor tendinopathy. What I did was when I set up and I came here, so like my foot's here, foot here. Okay, now it's super sore, so forgive me. But basically what I did was when I came here in this position, okay, and I get set up and I go like this. And then I came here, everything was tight. And then when I came here, hips came up, and then I pulled the slack out of the bar. And when I pulled that slack right here, that's when when I try to come off the floor, that's when I felt that pull. Like it was immediate. Like it was here. It was here. Boom, right there. I felt that pull. I didn't even get it off the ground. And I felt the pull. Boom, immediately. And I was like, fuck. And I fell. And I like couldn't put any weight on that left leg. At all. Couldn't put any weight on the left leg at all, and it was just not fun. I couldn't bend down to pick the weights up at all to unload. Luckily, Ed and Nate, I'll tag them. They were helpful enough to help me unload the weight off the bar for me, which is very great because I couldn't do that at all. And then Kimberly, who is a DPT, kind of examined me real quick. Now the good thing was I had full range of motion, so I could do full adduction supine, and I could do a gentle isometric and even lift. When you do the adductor manual muscle test for therapy, you lay on your side and you put the leg like this, and then you lift it up against gravity, and that's how you do the adductor test to test the strength. So I could do that as well too. So I knew it wasn't a full tear or a partial tear. I never had any swelling, inflammation, or anything, no bruising. I knew it was a mild grade 1. called my coach. We talked about game plan, what we were going to do, how we were going to kind of load manage, all that stuff. Came in on Monday. I did my normal routine with, no cardio that I wanted to rest it, but I iced the crap out of it on Sunday, took a leave, got it calmed down, foam rolled, everything that I do normally on Monday, did my abs, and I skipped the cardio that day just to get to rest, still icing, okay? And then Tuesday I went in and I started doing body weight squats. I did light body weight squats actually body weight squats to a box, 48 inches. I did a couple sets, worked my way down. I rolled out and did everything like I normally would for my warm-ups, as best as I possibly could, as much as I could. I do a lot of dynamic warm-up stuff, like single leg bridges I couldn't do, glute bridges I could do, still a little bit of a pulling discomfort, very tight pulling discomfort in my inner thigh here doing those. But like clamshells and that type of stuff I could do. What I wanted to work on, the biggest thing that I talked to my coach about was the quad tendonitis, and I feel like I was compensating because of that for the adductor, and the adductor muscles were having to work harder because my quads were fatigued and sore and not firing properly, especially on that left side. And you could say, well, he had right adductor issues on the right side too, but my right quad was fine. So I feel like because of that, my adductors had to, work harder. Now the quad tendonitis, I would say that is from one of two things. Either I would say poor hip mobility or poor hip strength, and like hip strength with high loads under tension, not just 5 out of 5 manual muscle test. Like I would get a 5 out of 5. That doesn't matter. But when I have 750 on my back, are my glutes and hips firing properly that they're supposed to be doing? That's a question you have to ask yourself. Yeah, you can test 5 out of 5 strength and do clamshells a bunch of times, but that's all good and great. But when it comes to actually squatting itself, how well are you able to activate and fire your glutes, and how well can they stabilize the hip joint and provide stability to the knee so that certain muscles don't have to work harder than they're supposed to be doing? Those are questions that I had to ask myself, and I realized that I really just I didn't have that strength in my left hip as much as I wanted to think I did. Tested fine, but that was an issue with the quad tendonitis. So I really started doing body weight squats, progressed to a little bit of kettlebell, progressed to actually body weight squats to a box, okay, like 48 inches and 36, then 24. I also did isometrics for adductors. So basically what I did was I went against a solid surface, okay? So picture this as a solid surface, okay? And basically what I did was I pushed inward this way, okay? Inward, pushing, holding 3, 4, 5. Or what you could do is step in front and kick inward as well too. You're basically, the goal of that is you're getting a sustained muscular contraction. You're not going against gravity or with gravity. You're getting a sustained muscular contraction in that specific muscle that is really meant to build the stability around that muscle with the joint itself, which is the pelvis, and the adductors are a big stabilizer of the pelvis, which many people just kind of forget. They are a big muscle group that many people forget to train just in general, which can really help grow your squat and your deadlift as well. They also are muscles that can get really fatigued quickly and aggravated quickly, as I have noted with myself. You do adductor tendinopathy like I've been witnessing, it's just not fun. It's not fun at all. It's just not fun. So those are things that I was doing, and I was doing a lot of active movement, lots of hip flexion, hip adduction, going inward, a little bit of hip abduction, just going outward in a comfortable range on my back. Okay, so lifting my knee up to my chest, moving it like that, going in, okay, going out. That's what I was doing. 3 sets of 10 to 12, 2 times a day to keep it moving. And then what I was doing is I was continuing to foam roll, because a lot of times what people don't realize is when your muscles get injured or you strain a muscle, what happens is is, yeah, you stretch it, but the muscles don't stay like that. They're not stayed like that unless it's a full tear, which is then why you need surgery. Or a partial tear, they might be able to recuperate and come back together. I'm not going to get too much into that, too anatomical for you guys, but that's what can happen. A minor tear like I had, what the muscles will do is they'll go into protective mode. They'll come really close and really tight because they don't want to be stretched anymore. And they'll become really close and really tight. And what will happen is immediately when you get an injury, the inflammatory response occurs. Okay. Phagocytosis occurs, basically have white blood cells come in and try to kill all the dead tissue and dead muscle tissue, tries to clear it all out. That's phagocytosis. And then what happens is you try to get the muscle fibers to eventually heal from the injury itself. Okay. But those muscles can get super tight. So you want to not stretch, because remember, even you just strained the muscle because the muscle couldn't handle, and the tendons could not handle that specific load under tension that you wanted to. And right now, it couldn't even handle stretching it. So when you're stretching that muscle, you're lengthening it. So your muscles could not even handle that specific tension you try to stretch it. That's why they do not recommend stretching after straining a muscle. Okay, that's the last thing you want to do. Maybe after a week or two, you can, but it's the last thing you want to do in the 24 to 48-hour period, okay, or 72. All right, but you don't want to stretch the muscle, okay? But what I did was just a lot of active movement, isometrics like I showed you, body weight squats, things that I could tolerate in a pain-free manner. Didn't want to push it. If I was having pain with it, I did not do it. I did not do it at all. Just didn't. I did ice, and then after 24 to 72 hours, I did heat. That's variable. A lot of research says 24, 72 hours for ice, and after heat. Honestly, I've had patients who have even ice to their entire time, and it makes them feel better, and heat makes them feel worse, even for chronic pain. It's weird. It does not often, but I do see it, but it's kind of what research shows. 24 to 72 hours ice, after that heat. Let's see. What else did I do? Yeah, so just a lot of active movement, foam rolling to kind of break up and make sure the muscles don't get so tight. And a lot of foam rolling, lacrosse balling, using my Theragun that I have here, which is a blessing in disguise. So blessing in disguise. So I had to set the case. It smells brand new. It's like a brand new box of shoes. I know there's some of you guys who are out there who like the brand, who like that smell of shoes, that brand new shoes. So don't think I'm weird or anything. But I used my Theragun, okay, which was great. Obviously. Let's see, what else did I do? It was really just progression. And I talked to my coach. I came up with a great program. I could still bench, do all upper body work, which was, thank God. But we like body weight squats, and then let's try, squatting with a barbell, and then like really, really progressing everything slowly, because the adductors are muscles that you can think you're ready, and then boom, it strains again. Ask any lifter, ask anybody who's had it. I guarantee you they had the same feeling that they were going to strain it again. So you really need to take things slow. And honestly, for me, I was proud of myself about how I handled it, because I usually don't take things slow. I push myself. I push my body when it needs to rest. It needs to do this. So, talking to people like my sister, my coach, my girlfriend, Jen, just her really controlling my wanting to push myself. And just other people in general, other PTs, Austin, Kimberly, Nate, Mitch, all of them really were beneficial to me, to allow me just to because they all said the same thing. PTs and doctors are their worst patients. We are our own worst patients. So, yeah. So as I progressed, I got, I didn't do sumo at all for like 2 or 3 weeks. No, 2 weeks, I think it was. I couldn't get down in that position. I couldn't, because in sumo, that adductor muscle is fully almost lengthened because you're basically putting your hips out into abduction, and then you're coming down here and you're flexing that pelvis, you're flexing your hips, and you're doing a little bit of abduction. So like literally that adductor, that hamstring portion of the adductor magnus is like almost like fully lengthened, because remember that hamstring portion does hip extension. Well, I'm in a lot of hip flexion right now, and I'm in abduction. So it's being stretched to begin with as well. So it's just, it was what it is what it is. It was what it was. And I had to push my meet back, but May 18th. Coming. I'm coming. May 18th. Me and my coach have planned 8 weeks out from yesterday, Saturday, so the 16th. So I'm coming for that. So we're progressing, we're building up, and I think it's great because it allowed me. You have to think about when you get injured. Obviously, serious injury is really hard, but it allows you to really take a reflection upon yourself and realize, okay, why did I get injured? What are deficits that I could train to make sure this doesn't ever happen again? Or what are things I can work on mobility wise, strength wise, stability wise, warm up wise, cool down wise, recovery wise, to make sure that I don't ever get this injury again. Injuries happen, they're part of the powerlifting sport, bodybuilding, athlete in general. So they're very common to occur. But like I said, I've really done better with my mobility work, making sure that I, am using my Theragun as much as I possibly can between sets, during off days, during work days, during training days, foam rolling as much as possible, doing a lot more mobility stuff for hips, and then also continuing to do isometrics with my adductors, putting a foam roll between my legs. For example, is one for squats that I do, and squeezing in for 5 seconds. It's not comfortable. I still have some discomfort, slight, but it's more just because slight discomfort in the hole with squatting. When I come here, okay, and I come here, no pain, no pain, no pain, no pain, boom, right here, right out of the hole is where I start to feel the discomfort in my left adductor under load. Probably when I start to load into the 500s is when I really feel it. Beltless. Now, when I put a belt on, I don't feel it because it's a stabilizer my pelvis. I push out against the belt, so it allows me to really help brace more, and it makes things a lot easier for me. But without a belt, yeah, I feel it. Now that's just more of the tendon itself being able to kind of adapt to the load over time. That's more what it is. And I've talked to Mitch about that. I've talked to Ed about that a little bit. And I've also talked to my coach about that as well too. But I want to give it a shout out to my coach, Michael. He's been great, very patient with me. I know he's kind of allowed me to do my thing because he knows I have the education as a physical therapist and all my other certifications to be able to treat myself, but that's also a very hard part. So I kind of needed him to talk me down sometimes. But in terms of training, after about 2 weeks, I got into the actual sumo position. We trained stiff leg deads, which we're still gonna do on Thursday as more of a secondary day for deads. We're only doing sets of 5, right? A set of 5 for sumos right now, and then stiff leg deads. And stiff leg deads help. I've never done that before. I've only done conventional, but they really, really have been good for my posterior chain work, and obviously any conventional stiff leg deadlift really helps train your sumo for your lockout. So we're going to continue with those. But those have been all beltless the entire time. Because conventional, I couldn't squat and flex my hip because I would feel that tightness in the adductor. So about 2 weeks, I could actually get into the sumo position, hold like 1 rep, then 2, then 3, then 4, then 551. So I was taking very, very careful jumps. And I was very, very attentive to my pain level. We didn't base it off of me and my coach, a specific RPE scale, like, 5 or 6. No, we based it off a pain scale. So we based it off a pain scale that we both came up together, we thought could be reasonable, where it's not pushing it too much, where it's too much load and I could restrain it, but just a little bit of discomfort is okay. So we put the pain scale at like 5 to 6 with sumos only, and squats too. But we knew that squats were going to recover quicker than sumo just because of the adductor amount of tension that the adductors have to go through in the hole in sumo off the ground. How I strained it. So that's how we kind of based it off of. And squatting was the first part that actually got better. And then once that was good, I was like, okay, maybe I can try pushing it with deads. And I was super careful. I mean, I didn't really, when I got in position here, I really did not even, like, I'll show you, like, you guys see some of my videos. I really did not, even I came here and I really did not pull. When I came here, I really did not come boom and pull the slack out. I really was more like this. And I was like this. I was too afraid to pull the slack out fully and get into fully thoracic extension and pull, because that feeling, that doing that was where I pulled it, injured my left abductor. So I was really being cautious and careful, which is the good thing to do. I was also doing a lot of warm-ups and also doing, if it was a 3-rep, I was doing 3 reps of something, or at least 1 or 2 reps. I thought I could do 45 for 3. I did 441 for 2 and made sure that there was no pain with it. And I know 110% I could have got that 3rd rep easily. And taking a very good jump and not overshooting, not pushing it, making sure I was not going to re-injure it. And there was at times where maybe I felt like I was undershooting a lot and could have pushed more, but I'm glad I didn't. And that's what you have to do with any injury. You have to take it easy, do what you can, don't push it, let your body recover and heal. It's speaking to you. Your body speaks to you when you get injured, and figuring out exactly why you got injured in the first place and fixing on those things, because then what can happen is once that body part is healthy, the things that cause that injury are going to be stronger, and it's going to allow you to push the loads quicker and load more tension on that specific tendons and the muscles. Not load more tension, but allow those muscles and tendons to be able to maintain that tension under a specific weight or load that you want it to be at. So I think another big thing was banded squats. So putting a band, I would put a band around my knee here. So I'll show you like this. I love these. I don't know why I wasn't doing these before. And I was doing more of a narrow stance for at least for squats. Obviously deads, I go super far, but I wasn't putting these for deads purposes of emulating a specific deadlift. But for squats I was, but I also do as a warm up for deads. It's just putting it here, narrow grip. And then this really makes me stabilize my hips to not allow my knees to cave in. Okay, and it really makes me, as one of a cue of pushing, opening my crotch up, okay, and pushing my knees outward, okay. And it's a good quad warm, a good hip stability warm up, and it improves my internal rotation mobility as well too. But I was really pushing my knees out, coming down slowly centric, breathing, then popping back up. Slowly centric, 1, 2, 3, pop back up. Okay. And I would do those for like 2 sets of 10 warming up. And then I would do my other mobility stuff and dynamic warm stuff. Then I would spread my feet to my normal squat stance. A little bit slightly externally rotated. Okay. This is how I would squat. Okay. This is my stance, how I would squat. Okay. Crotch open. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 1, 2, 3. All right. And that's what I would do. For the wider, I would do 5, but I really felt it for my hips. It was really good. And it's a good cue for strengthening my hip external rotators and internal rotators in a knee flexion state. Okay. And strengthening those muscles and improving my stability in a squat and in a similar stance, for my sumo, and strengthening in that specific range of motion. Because you can, if you're squatting and if you're just doing, like, no offense, sideline hip abduction, that's great. But in the squat, you're in a straight stance when you're walking out, and that's about it. The rest of it is in the hole. Your knees are flexed, your hips are flexed. So strengthening in that specific range of motion for the hips and knee flexion. It's also a great warm up for my quad tendonitis, which is what I like as well too. So that was a great warm up that I've done. I've been implementing
And I do that on my recovery days as well too. I think right now where I'm at, the biggest thing is making sure I don't re-injure my adductor, obviously, but also, making sure my quad tendonitis on my left side does not come back, or on the right either, and really managing the loads that I put on my quad, especially without my SSB bar squats are coming back to normal, my squats coming back to normal. So really making sure that I don't push my accessories too much or the volume too much too quickly. And me and my coach are making sure that, with sumo deadlifts, we don't push it too much with the volume. And we're still making sure that I don't get any type of tendonitis on the left quad flaring back up, or any adductor tendonitis on the left, my adductors flaring back up. I mean, I do feel my left quad a little bit, but it's not as bad as it was before. And it's really more just, hey man, if I don't feel like I can load for leg press, just do 2 or 3 plates, do what I can do pain-free, get some stimulus, get some blood flow going, and that be it, and get out of the gym. And that's what I really think this injuries allowed me to learn. So with that being said, that's it for tonight, you guys. If you have any questions, comment in the chat below, or comment on the video below. Please like and subscribe and follow. I really appreciate it. I'll post some of this content on the Instagram page, and little reel clips. I think it's always good for people to see, maybe get more traction. So like I said, goal is to try to get do episodes at least once every other week, even if it's just by myself, and then try to get at least one guest to come on at least once a month. So like I said, I got some lined up that are interested. So other than that, if you have any questions, feel free to shoot me an email, DM me on Instagram, Instagram account, feel free to help you guys. And like I said, biggest thing is listening to your body. And if you get injured, don't think about as, it was hard for me. Like, oh, people are getting PRs and going through this and going through that. A lot of people don't post on social media about their injuries. I did that. I posted all my rehab work in terms of volume, not rehab mobility wise, and warm up and dynamic warm up wise, and new exercises that I did to fix the impairments that I found of maybe why adductor got strained and my quad tendonitis, but specifically like squatting and deadlifting, very lightweight, rehabbing back to where they were at. People don't post that. So I think it was great that I did do that, and I think people could see my progressions and jumps that I made. And I kind of explained here the rationale why with that. So like I said, if you have an injury, take it as more of a learning lesson, so this doesn't happen again. You don't want it to happen again. So figure out what caused it, how I can make sure that this doesn't happen again, and how I can fix it, and how can I implement new exercises or warm-up routine exercises or dynamic warm-ups to make sure that everything is loose and mobile and it's more stable for me to be able to perform at my highest possible level with every set and rep that I do with squats or deads or whatnot, or even bench. So other than that, guys, want to wish you a good night, and I will talk to you guys later.